Okay, now just follow my lead, Shaerah. Oh my god! Why are you making such a big deal, Laurano? Those are really good role players over there, and I don't want them thinking my sister is a noob. I so know how to RP. Just watch. I'll go meet that guy there. Who? The tall, cute one in the red thingy. That's Dugald. No. Will you chill out? I totally got this. Hey, sup thou? Oh, kill me now. What?
Hearthstone Tavern, a Warcraft RP podcast, highlighting the RP in MMORPG. Welcome.
In this week's episode, number 3, we continue where we left off last time on our Roundtable Discussion, MMORPG graphic novels. This week we feature the World of Warcraft Manga. The cast also continue our roleplay roundtable about writing to deepen your character by what to write or not write in an MMORPG character description add-on. We also have special cast editorial segments by Brent of rpmadesimple.org featuring character description examples. Rhea of warpriestess.com featuring the well-dressed RPer, and Jan Jarrow of earthenring.ning.com, who takes us on a thought-provoking journey about how to portray a hero.
Here! They're here!
Hey, forward up! Surround them!
They have approached too close, Lannia. This confrontation will be unavoidable.
Truly unfortunate, brother. But if it's necessary, so be it.
Indeed.
It was foolish to think you could escape us, Demon Hunter.
The onslaught will see you burn!
We seek no trouble here, friend. We only wish to pass through.
Silence, witch!
Our faith shields us against your lies.
Speak to the Netherbane with respect, human. If you have not learned how, it can indeed be taught.
You dare draw against us, Greyseer?
Indeed I do, demons.
Of course we could not mask ourselves to you, but in our true forms,
You will purge this land of your filth!
A creesh!
They always find us, don't they, brother?
Such is the way of this path, Lannia Winterstorm. Such is the
Greyseer,
way.
behind you! Suffer not the witch to live! Kill her!
Come for me if you will. You will not get past my brothers.
You will die this day! Others will find you, Netherbane. Repent while you still can. We will welcome that challenge, demon.
Amunadore, brother Taldarion. Your timely arrival was most welcome.
Indeed. Thank you. You both are unharmed.
This one is fine.
I, as well.
I would hope that the rest of this journey will be made in relative peace, yes?
Trust in the loon's grace, as always.
Good.
Will you be joining us, brother Taldarion?
That depends on your destination.
The Lady Stardancer has invited us to visit a tavern.
Tavern? I did not think you condone such places.
An ally has asked for our presence, and an ally will receive our presence.
This is Brent, a.k.a. Sullivan.
Susanna, I play Stardancer.
I'm Harper, a.k.a. Pyrus. I'm the player of Cormac. People call me Mox for short.
I'm Mike, the person who plays Anansi.
Jared the Grim.
Hi, I'm Rhea. I play Lannia.
Hey, this is Matt, a.k.a. Taldarion Shatterbound.
I'm Richard, otherwise known as Therian Greyseer.
Also on our roundtable discussions, let's talk about the manga. Is manga presented in the traditional manner, as in back to front, as in the Japanese style?
It is not, no, because it is actually Western. I don't believe there's really any Japanese workers on it, as far as I know, because for the Sunwell Trilogy, I believe the artist was actually Korean.
That is correct, yes.
Yeah, so it's their manga style.
How do you view the overall art and the way that it's designed?
For me, for the most part, I've not had any trouble with the art in general, whether it be the Sunwell Trilogy or the Legends anthologies. Those have actually been quite good, quite enjoyable. They actually fit the look and feel of the world, which is very important.
We're very lucky to have a Warcraft that is kind of cartoony in style, based on art director Sam Wise's own style. So it lends itself very well to these kinds of things, manga, even some of the comics.
Yeah, it did manage to capture the hyper proportions that you see on the armor and such, and the weapons. As far as the Sunwell Trilogy goes, the art exemplary, like Richard said, but the story itself,
Does the storyline follow the other WoW comics and books? Is it based on its own? How is the writing overall, and who's actually doing the writing?
For all of the various comic sources, be it manga or the mainline monthly or the monthly miniseries that was done for the Ashbringer, they're all supplemental. Mm-hmm. They all tell stories that cover things either before or after or in between the main events that we see in game. And as to who's writing it, it's across the board. For the Sunwell Trilogy, it was Richard Knack who wrote that. The Legends anthologies are written by various people. And the mainline monthly is written by Walter Simonson, who's a well-known comic artist from Marvel days and whatnot. And I believe the Ashbringer miniseries is written by Mickey Nielsen, who is one of Blizzard's primary storyline and lore people with Metzen.
Is it following or rehashing some of the same storylines we already know? Or are these a completely new storyline with new characters that are just written in the universe that we know?
A lot of them are new characters, and a lot of them follow original storyline, but there's a whole lot of retconning going on. A lot of the older stories that happened in the past, especially in the Sunwell Trilogy.
Yeah, that's something that's definitely was heavily influenced. The end of the Burning Crusade expansion was a lot of what happened in that Sunwell Trilogy manga.
I seem to remember that the Sunwell patch 2.4 even retconned slightly events in the Sunwell Trilogy, Kael'thas and his involvement with the Sunwell itself and its destruction.
Yeah, Rich, I remember that as well. Specifically that the Sunwell itself was destroyed by Kael'thas himself after Arthas defiled it to raise Kel'Thuzad.
Yes, I just don't remember if that was actually how it was in the manga itself, or whether that was either a retcon or an expansion later for the patch. I can't recall.
We continue now with where we left off in Episode 2. We start with Rhea, who reminded us about being brief when writing a character description in a Warcraft character description add-on.
You want to make sure it's something small enough that you can read quickly, because if somebody's just walking through town, you only have a few seconds that you can find out who it was and actually start reading it, and maybe even finishing it before they walk out of range. You can also go on too much detail, even on physical description. Essentially, if you have too much detail, for example, if you're describing every cut or every wear and tear in the clothing or all of the colors, it's not needed. Your physical representation of your character does a great job with that. You don't actually have to have that information. You can say the clothing looks worn. Really, you want to add information that they can't necessarily see from your character as well. Mm-hmm. If the character has a scar across their face, that kind of draws attention. Why does she have the scar? Why is she wearing something unusual? One of my favorite RP experiences all started because somebody decided to say something to my character at a flight point and ask, well, that's an interesting scar you have. I'm interested in how you got it. And it was a very small point. And I have only a few sentences in my description, but it caught somebody's attention.
Michael, can you tell us what the different add-ons are?
Well, I've been looking at the different add-ons, and there's the choice between Flag RSP and My Roleplay. Both add-ons actually work hand in hand. They know how to communicate with each other. I think, unfortunately, though, that's 2 extra channels taken up instead of 1 extra channel. Flag RSP tends to, when you scroll over somebody, it pops up with their description, unless they've fixed that. Can anybody verify that, yes or no?
You can actually toggle that.
You can change.
You can toggle it off and on, yeah.
Okay.
I have mine set so that it only if I'm targeting that person does their description pop up.
That's the same way I have mine.
My roleplay, I know you scroll over someone and you just see their title and their role-playing name and et cetera, last name and so on, which is very, very fascinating in and of itself. There's a little button on the character's icon which you can click. Which says MRP. You click that and up pops their description. So you can see it when you choose to see it, even if you have them selected and are healing them or something that say you're doing some instancing while role-playing.
Mox, did you have something to add?
Some of the good things to actually put into your flag RSP, or my roleplay for that matter, or immersion RP, those are the three big ones that I know of, is putting in a lot of like the way your character moves is a very important thing too, I think. By telling somebody if your character walks in a particular way, or how they wear their sword. Do they wear it high on their waist in a safe, formal sort of fashion, or do they wear it low because they're expecting to draw it at any given moment? Small clues like that are nice to include, and if people do catch those when they're walking past you, that's a very interesting. Oh well, why does he walk like that? Why does he look around and have this feral, predatory look on his face? Details like that are what are really important to include in your flag RSP descriptions.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. One of the biggest points that I believe in when it comes to using these mods is they need to foster interaction with people. You're looking to have something that helps you RP with another person, not just RP at them. You want to try to avoid the whole idea of I'm just looking for an audience to be awesome towards. Your descriptions, everything you do should try to foster that interaction, to get people to actually come back at you and create this interaction, create that immersion. Not a singular stage with a whole bunch of people staring at you being an audience. This is essentially an interactive improv.
I definitely think it's a very good point that it's RP in any case. It's a give and take. You want to also go out and look for flag RSP descriptions that interest you so that you can start RP, as well as putting a very good one for yourself.
Guys, let me ask you this. I've got some examples here of some things I've seen done in flag RSP or in RP mods before. So if I could take a minute and ask you this, you can tell me just, is this good? Is this bad? Am I on the right page? Where do I go from here? So the first one, I opened it up and I saw he's the kind of guy who you might overhear saying something like, I'm here to kick butt and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
That kind of hurts the immersion for me, I'll be honest. It just takes me completely out of anything else that might actually be going on. It's sort of an out-of-world reference too, so it's difficult. It also wholly depends on you knowing the original source. If you've never heard that phrase and if you don't know the source of that phrase, that means absolutely nothing to you, theoretically, correct?
So what could you replace it with in that case, Richard?
Maybe he's actually chewing on something. Maybe he's chewing on, maybe he's got tobacco or something like that, whatever the Azeroth equivalent of that is. Maybe he's actually chewing on it. Maybe he's chewing on it with a certain attitude. Describe the posture. I mean, honestly, that attitude, that line, I'm here to kick butt and chew bubblegum, has a very distinct image to the people that know it. Describe that image. Describe that persona.
The tough as nails attitude, so to speak.
He's a guy looking for a fight.
Okay, here's a few others. How about just something simple that says he's tall and lean, scarred and ugly, and a simple physical description follows.
That sounds
good to me.
Good, short, simple.
Yeah.
Like it.
Very good. Okay, a little bit more then. Was born in Stormwind before the Raising. What's the problem there?
Information. I don't know that just by looking at him.
Okay, very good. Just want to make sure that that's a big one that we say no to. Please
they all had tattoos on their foreheads.
Exactly.
They have expiration dates.
All right, I recently saw a Death Knight. Nublet had hateful eyes, like daggers to your heart. I thought pretty well done.
That's fairly descriptive,
there.
yeah.
It's a good little description. It gives us, and once again, these are little clips. This isn't the whole RSP.
But I like the idea that you're able to get an idea of what it would be if you were looking at her. Okay, that's when I'm looking at her, that's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, I think that works out well.
I have mixed feelings about descriptions like that. They kind of have a subjective presumptuousness about the interpretation other characters might have. Like, if I'm looking at Nublet with my character, who might be a considerable badass and look at a Death Knight and not really get daggers in his heart, does that make sense? That my character might have a different reaction.
Daggers thing seems mostly to be it's a outward description. It doesn't. I don't think it presumes what you're feeling. It really is a description of this person is looking at you hatefully. That is, it's not like this person is looking at you and you tremble in fear. My character's a demon hunter. There's stuff that he's not going to tremble in fear at. Gnome, Death Knight, he's not going to tremble in fear. He might laugh his butt off, but that's a whole different story.
Yeah, I think that's important to make sure that you clarify in your description as well, making sure that you're not projecting emotions that the other person probably may or may not feel. And that's something that a lot of people I notice do, and people need to watch out for.
I was just going to say along the same lines, theoretically with the example used, you could say that the daggers missed.
Yeah, I will have to say there, here's the English teaching side of me coming out. Like daggers to your heart, that is fair as it's a description. What you do in responding to that as your own character reading that is completely different. Maybe, like daggers to your heart, well, like daggers to most people's heart. Maybe not in Demon Hunter Therion's case, or even Taldarion, most of the time
that farmer walking by
like that, he's not really afraid of a farmer walking by, correct?
Okay, did you have more, Matt?
I do. I have a few more here, about 4 more that we'll look at. This one I saw, Nublet hates Scarlets, and people love to put things like that in there.
Emblem with a line through it?
Yeah, have we ever seen that? Like the Ghostbusters shirt is in-game as a tabard? I haven't seen that, so I'm going to have to go out here and say that I'm not going to know that you don't like Scarlets. Now, if you were to say, has a Scarlet tabard on that they put a big ring and slash through, that's a little bit different, I can tell in that case that you hate Scarlets. All right, here's my least favorite one, and this just grates on my nerves the moment I see it, but what about a response when it says, I am the son of lore character X, whoever that might be?
Ooh. I don't know who your mommy and daddy was by looking at you.
I also think in the nature of keeping this relatively PG that I probably shouldn't answer.
Oh.
Feel that strongly, huh?
Yeah, that kind of sucks.
Just to the listener, just as a word of advice, don't make your character the son, second cousin, or third cousin of somebody famous in the game.
But I do actually have a reason. The reason I'm against such things, honestly, if this were your tabletop world, we were playing a closed game, that's great, because that is your version of the world to completely play with. The world that we play in WoW is still Blizzard's. And Blizzard has shown that they could retcon anything at any point in time, which will completely nullify your story if they suddenly say, such and such never had children. Then, who are you? Then all the people that you've role-played with, who are you? You are nobody now. You do not exist. If you've had 3 years of really cool RP as, say, the illegitimate son of Arthas or something like that, then who are you? If Arthas had never had a kid, who are you then? What happened to that 4 years of really good RP? What happened to the people that interacted with you? What happened to them? Have you affected their story? And it just branches out. And the idea is, do not set yourself up to be retconned out of existence by someone that you cannot influence. In this case, Blizzard.
Is there a way that we can be constructive with how we can direct people to putting in their information? For example, let's take one of Matt's next ones and see if we can do that in kind of a creative way.
Let's try one of these. I see this a lot, too. Instead of a flag RSP, I just have a note that says theme song, Kickin' Butts and Taking Names by the Butt-Kicking Name Takers. Obviously not a real song or a real band, but we can kind of move on from there.
They're looking at their character in terms of like a movie trailer where you see all this action and you hear all these things. What's included in the movie trailer is the sound. They're putting a soundtrack, so if you put it all together, you get kind of perspective of what their character would be like. But in terms of just somebody wandering by, I probably don't know a lot of the songs that people list in there. What would be a way that somebody who wants to portray that type of mood in their characterization could do that without having to add, and this week's theme is...
Even though it's really cool if you could actually have your own theme song when you play in real life, unfortunately, with the way, the game is structured and how you do that, the best way of portraying that image, one, is through your description, using words that evoke that emotion or that idea that you're trying to get across. It also depends on what you're wearing with your description, because obviously if you're in a pink bunny suit, you're really not going to strike fear in the hearts of men and small animals. Well, maybe the small animals. I would say probably to use that in your description and also in your role-playing, because not everyone has the add-ons in the first place. As I was going to say earlier, you can't really use the flagging programs as a crutch or a replacement for role-playing itself, because if someone does not have this, and a lot of new role players, they're still learning and they don't really have the add-ons to begin with, much less can read what you've put in yours. a lot of it's going to have to be conveyed through your actual speech patterns, the things you do, your emoting, just a combination of that as well. But if you're going to put that in a description, I would say use wording or a description of your character or whatever you're doing as something to convey that particular feel that you want to give your character.
I actually had an answer that went back to one of your previous questions, the original one on this roundtable, which was writing to expand characters. And I wanted to just put in there, one of the reasons I really love to do that is that it gives me an opportunity to tell the story of my character from a different perspective. I do this with alts all the time. Like, I'll make an alt, dress them up, make them a character, and then associate them with the main character whose story I'm trying to tell. This gives me a really good outlet, as does writing in a forum or whatnot, to volunteer information about that character that they themselves would never volunteer. For instance, Shaerah is an extremely mysterious person. My oldest friends and guildmates really still don't know who the hell he is. So I really love the opportunity to tell it from a different story. And writing exercises, especially the ones that Greg often posts in the forums, I love to jump in there as a different character, different point of view. And it also gives me a place to expound on details about that character that a lot of people now, I think, take the opportunity to stick in their RSP descriptions and just have a place for those descriptions to live. Thus, they live there. They live in this writing. It's on the internet somewhere. It's going to be there forever. I don't need to put all of that in my RSP description now.
Michael, did you have some exercises that could help role players work a little bit with putting their characterization together?
This is from a writing exercise that I had before in college, which was to, let's say, go out to the mall and write about 3 or 4 sentences about someone. You just see them. The thing is, the more you do that, the more you realize this is what people can see, and this is pretty much what a flag RSP, my roleplay field, should say. Should sort of say, okay, heavyset fellow with a big bushy beard, bits of food in it, rather broad for a dwarf, and the pants seem to be baggy with one hand holding up the belt. And everything is what you can visually see on the character. You could even do things such as there's a smell about the person. You smell cinnamon when you're around the person. You smell 5-day-old rotted fish on the person. You smell, could be even that the temperature drops when you're around the person. That could be great for death knights, things of that nature. But it's all tangible things. And 3 or 4 sentences, try to sum up people that you see in 3 or 4 sentences. And that is, my opinion, what would be a really tasty flag RSP.
We talked a little bit about the various MMORPG roleplay add-ons for Warcraft. Brent of rpmadesimple.org takes a few minutes to further describe those and provide examples of character descriptions. Enjoy.
Greetings all, this is Brent, otherwise known as Sullivan from rpmadesimple.org, and today I want to talk to you about RP flagging add-ons, the character descriptions that go into them, and also a little way to help other people on your RP server with them. First off, the add-ons themselves. There are 4 different add-ons that you can get, and you can get these either at wowinterface.com or curse.com. These are Immersion RP or IRP. There is a flavor called Immersion RP Continued as well. There is also Flag RSP 2. You also have Flag RSP WOTLK. This came out roughly when the Lich King expansion came out. You can get that as well. Or My Roleplay. Either one of these will work. They're all pretty much April 2009 or better updated. I would always try to go with what works and what seems to be updated more often than any. Just see what works right for you. And the good thing about these, for the most part, they all work together. So let's say you put something in Immersion RP, there's a good chance that someone with My Roleplay or Flag RSP 2 can read it no problem. From there, once you install it, from the user interface, you can add wonderful things like a first, middle, or last name, which can be in addition to your own. I'm going to give you an example of what you can add based on one of my characters. With Shaw, his name is Shaw Ashcroft. What I can do, I can use Shaw as his first name and Ashcroft as his second, or his last name. I can also use or add or move that position of the Shaw as far as what shows up on the tooltip. And that's where all that information mostly goes to. Some other ones have additional windows that open up to show the description. When people mouse over, you'll see things like character name, a title, and you also will sometimes see added information. Like I said, this is all variant upon which add-on you use. I can also put in a nickname. I can put in things like a title. For him, it would be Ranger. What this does is helps get him away from the rogue class which he is based out of. That's a game mechanic. I'm playing him as an undead ranger based on the AD&D ranger. Anything I can do to make it less roguey and more rangery is best for my character. Using the flagging program is helpful for that. I can also put in other things like house name, height, weight, eye color, and other details about the background and history, which can get a lot of information in there. And I really don't think that you have to put everything down. See what works for you. You can also put in if you are a normal, casual, full-time, or beginner role player. And also if you're in character right now, or you're just out of character doing your thing. Now I'm going to give you a description, or some sample descriptions of a couple, 3 characters, so you can get a kind of an idea what to put in. And you don't really have to be an English major to figure this out, or anything like that. Let's go with Shaw's description first. You can kind of get an idea of what he has. The undead form you see is dressed in weathered leathers, smelling of forest leaves and bark. The quiver on his back denotes elven workmanship. His fletchings are crimson in color. This is only, 2 sentences, but it speaks a lot about what you're seeing in front of you. It helps with what he's wearing. It basically is an added description that helps define the character. I'll give you another example, and this one is Sullivan. This person appears to be fit for an older gentleman, aged but still far from hanging up his sword just yet. He is pretty much as you see him otherwise. His voice is pleasant, neutral, with a slight accent. And I put a southern U.S. for an idea of the accent in parentheses. Now what I've done here is I've left it open for what he's wearing, and I've got his voice so people can get an audio cue of what he sounds like. And we also know that he's an older gentleman. His hair matches that because he has more of the gray hair. So basically it all flows and fits. This goes back to AD&D when the DM would tell you, you go, hey, what about that guy in the corner? The DM would say a description about him so you could either know whether or not you wanted to go over there, leave him alone, or just keep an eye on him. I'll give you another example. This is something just a little bit more on the fun side. This is for my troll mage.
This troll be fit enough for a jungle troll, none too bad. Looks to be about a spell weaver of sorts from the garb he be wearing. Seems friendly like, but be careful though, he may just sheep ya.
Trollish flavor in this case. It tells a little bit about him from what someone would say if someone was describing him. The rule of thumb that I use is you have about 7 to 10 seconds to really have someone read what you've wrote down. If you write down a whole wall of text, no one's going to see that in time. My rule of thumb is less is more. For some of my characters, I put in some quick RP tips, like be respectful in character and out of character, stay in character as best as you can, act like your character would, and try to encourage and inspire RP, do not demand it. I also put in there toggle walk and run being the number pad and the slash, and then the toggle auto run being the numbers lock. Yeah, it's a little extra in there. What it can do is give someone who just started and doesn't really know all the other parts of this yet, it gives them just a little bit of help and also something they can in turn pass on to other role players. It is a social game, and RP is a social medium, so anything that we can do to kind of help each other is always a good thing for the RP community.
Hello and welcome to Ria's Corner for the Well-Dressed RPer. Today's clothing is a tribute to those that choose to RP demon hunters in World of Warcraft. Let's take a look at Illidan. He is the most well-known of the demon hunters in WoW. There are others, but he is the original. First, Illidan has a blindfold. A blindfold is only available a couple of ways in-game. Either use a Night Elf male model that has a blindfold, or you raid in order to get the Cursed Vision of Sargeras. It's a rogue leather piece and you'll have to work hard to get it. It's by no means impossible. For most though, we either have to do without, or find another creative means to cover our eyes, such as goggles. Just remember, goggles are goggles. If you want to RP a blindfold, and you cannot actually have one on your character, it would be better to put it in an add-on with the description and not cover your eyes at all. Illidan also has tattoos. Players don't get tattoos in-game. This is another item that you would actually have to put into an add-on as part of your description. It's a limitation of the game at the moment that we're not able to perfectly mimic Illidan's Storm Rage. But I would say it's a good thing. After all, not all demon hunters look exactly the same, so you can honor them with your style even if you can't perfectly represent it. Many demon hunters, especially females, choose to cover their chest partially with harnesses, or a shirt that in some way partially covers their chest. Originally, Illidan wore baggy pants that were similar to hakama, which is a samurai's pants. These models don't exist, so most demon hunters choose to wear kilts. Kilts, or skirts in some cases, are the closest items that mimic those pants. There are many kilts and skirts in-game to choose from, so this is a really good option. Also, many of them are cloth, allowing any class to be able to wear them for RP. Final touches are the gloves, bracers, boots, shoulders, and weapons. Gloves and bracers are optional, but most usually try to find something that fits the RP outfits that they are wearing. Shoulders are the same idea, although demonic-looking shoulders are common elements, as demon hunters may make use of a demon for armor, or even weapons. Boots tend to either be sandals, or they may go barefoot for a simple look that goes with almost any outfit. Finally, the weapons tend to be something that have some element of demonic or felfire nature. Many choose to dual-wield weapons such as these, but it is up to personal preference. I would like to end this with some of my favorite combinations for Demon Hunter RP wear that I've seen, excluding the weapons. Weapons tend to be much more dependent on class than clothing does. The clothing is usually either cloth or leather, and allows many of the in-game classes to wear the outfits. The first set I'd like to mention is a very, very simple set. It uses the Death Speaker's tunic, the Mystic sarong, and knitted sandals. You don't actually have any gloves or any shoulder pieces with this outfit. It's just a very simple looking outfit. The second set that I'd like to mention is a bit more complex and also uses the Mystic sarong again. It's a very common kilt that's used within Demon Hunter RP. Along with the Mystic sarong, this set uses the Dark Tread boots, Ironhide bracers, Crystalhide hand wraps, Swashbuckler sash, and Bloodwoven mask to create a very masculine image. You could probably change a couple of the elements and it'd work very well for a female as well. As it has no shirt as part of this outfit, you probably want to add some sort of harness to make it easier for a female character to actually look more demon hunterish. Now, I could go on forever with outfits, as there really are limitless combinations, but I really hope that you have fun making your own. That's all for this time on Ria's Corner for the Well-Dressed RPer.
My name's Jan. I played a grumpy, gray-bearded character on the Earthen Ring named Shaerah the Grim. I used to run a guild called Anduin's Faithful, which Greg was a part of, probably much to his chagrin, and most recently a guild based on the Argent Crusade itself. I'm not actually playing the game anymore. I created and run the Earthen Ring RP Network website, where there's a live listing of upcoming RP events, a place for your character to have a journal, upload your artwork, and chat with other Earthen Ringers while you're at work and not really working. There will come a day when you log out of World of Warcraft for the last time. How then will you be remembered? Will you be known in stories of fellow roleplayers as a clown or a troll? A treasure to the community, maybe? Or all-around talented and respected roleplayer? Will you leave with a public forum thread in a wake of drama, misgivings, and slander? Will you take an unseen bow and exit stage left where only a handful of people even notice? But the answers to those questions, should you choose to answer them, carry implications that find their way into facets of who we are. and how we carry ourselves in real life, as well as how we portray our characters in the game. The questions above have crossed my mind because though I'm still active in the community, I don't play World of Warcraft anymore, and I wonder from time to time how Shaerah the Grim is remembered. Part of me is curious. Curious because I wonder if he had an influence in any way, what it was, and just how much he affected the denizens of Azeroth while he was there. That's what most of us spend our whole lives worrying over. Our legacy. Pretend for a moment that Azeroth is real. You're really there, and King Rin is a very dynamic and complex person. If you were in the middle of all the madness there, how would you personally feel the effect of Sargeras' burning legion on the world, and on all the people there now? Of all the wars, seen and unseen, in the canon of Warcraft, it is truly a wonder to come across anyone who has survived through it all. The rich and violent history of these people has seen countless heroes rise and fall, and in that rich, violent world that is ours to roleplay in, who are those heroes, and how are they counted? As an active roleplayer, this question was ever present on my mind. To give context to it, I'll describe the character that I played. Shaerah the Grim had been a knight for his entire life. He served Stormwind through the First War, and again as a paladin in the Second and Third Wars. Not unlike Tirion Fordring, one of his closest comrades, the paladin found himself defeated and exiled in the wake of the Third War, and he forsook the ways of the light. For most of his life, he was known by a different name, but when he returned from exile years later, he took the name Jarrow, the surname the Grim. It was his oaths of service to king and country that had brought him back, and he now fulfilled them in secret, and in time he became more bold and overt. And when Fordring revived the Knights of the Silver Hand, Jarrow found himself once again in the midst of great conflicts. He reluctantly took the mantle of Paladin once more and commanded a portion of the Argent Crusade. This is a grey-haired man, whose latter years are summed up now in a few sentences. But in those few words that do his long journey little justice, there are countless thresholds crossed and transformations of character undertaken. Again and again, Jarrow's identity changed, as it does for any of us throughout our lives. He's seen great battles and great victories, great losses and great suffering, betrayal, redemption, ignorance, arrogance, short-sightedness, and so on, all of which has changed and shaped the very fate and face of the world he's a part of. It's no wonder that all of this has changed him. These things have forced him to bear incredibly heavy burdens and emotional wounds that might never heal quite right. Again, though, this segment is about your character, not mine. In my many years of role-playing on the Earth and Ring server, I have seen an untold number of heroes. When we open the box, stick the disc in our drive, install the game, and boot it up, we're handed the role of adventurer. Some of us play this role down and try to blend in, because the idea behind being an adventurer may be too lofty. Maybe he's doing it because he wants to leave a legacy behind himself after he's dead and gone. Maybe it's not about making a positive difference, but about world domination. Maybe you're just questing for the chicks, or for the gold, or more likely both. But the insidious thing about this role is that it implies a certain ascent to an almost mythic heroism. I use that word to describe great deeds, not necessarily good deeds. Heroic feats for good or ill. And while Azeroth is filled with heroes from the roof of the world to the South Seas, it's left to us as role-players to define that role for ourselves. We won't ever be written into the canon of the game. This is a cause of one of the most common phenomena I've seen as a role-player. Considering the history of the world, just being alive implies a certain degree of heroism. And yet we overdo it in a way, by trying to roleplay our characters heroically. We do this to make them stand out. We give them unlikely backstories, and sometimes try to stretch credibility to do this. Hence the occurrence of running into the bastard child of Daneth Trollbane, or Arthas Menethil, or their brother, or their nephew. That example is the folly of thinking that we can be heroic by association. There are those lore nerds amongst us who magically imbue their characters with a wealth of knowledge that seems unlikely for their character, who was at every battle you can name, who knows all those main characters, and possibly their deepest, darkest fantasies. There's nothing they can't do, haven't seen or done, or aren't doing now. Perhaps they can't conceive of making a real, fallible character. The know-it-all and the bastard relative are but two examples that most seasoned role-players have encountered. They're often looked down upon. I'm one of the few role-players who doesn't think it's impossible to pull off playing a relative of a character that Blizzard has authored, who doesn't think it's completely impossible to play a character who knows just about everything. The issue, it seemed to be, is not what or who, it's how. I used the phrase role-playing in a heroic way earlier. What I meant by that has to do with ego. A superhero must have a bit of an ego to prance about in a suit and an emblem and fight crime. It's a declaration to the world. In my day, Earth and Ring regularly had what is called a story night. Folks might gather under a particular tree and light a campfire and sit around it and tell stories. But these were seldom cultural myths and urban legends of their peoples. These were the characters' own stories, poems, and songs, for the most part. It was a great opportunity for those players to roleplay at one another, and not really roleplay with one another. Not to mention the fact that Shaerah the Grim, my beloved gray-haired grump, would never offer his burdens to those who he did not know intimately. Those nights, though, were for me a good example of role-playing heroically, instead of role-playing a heroic character with some humility, some modicum of realism. Shaerah would fancy himself a flagon of mead, and he would find himself at a lively tavern.
What's on your mind?
Someone might approach him and offer a laundry list of deeds they'd done, battles they were at, or maybe all their sorrows and their life story. Shaerah assumed that they were drunk, because it seemed there was no real cause or context for him to know so much about a perfect stranger in such a treacherous world and time. Much of this segment has been about my personal experiences as an observer of my fellow roleplayers, about my experiences roleplaying with them. I've made more than a few generalizations about roleplayers here. There are, of course, always exceptions and exceptional roleplayers, but here's where I change gears a bit, in a way that does relate to humility and roleplaying heroically. I have found for myself the most pleasing part of roleplaying, not just the storylines I was involved with, not just the characters who I befriended and their players, but in the simple, quiet moments. I might be walking down the street of Old Town in Stormwind, when somebody who may or may not have even been a roleplayer stops me and sends me an out-of-character message to the effect of, "Whoa, I thought you were an NPC for a minute. Great job. Sweet armor, dude." And I don't say this to boast. I'm citing something that has always, for me, been a great affirmation that I was achieving what I sought out to do, and that was to blend in. To play a phenomenally heroic and humble character in a realistic way. He blended in, so much that he was mistaken for an NPC on a daily basis. But these moments seemed to stand out more for those who made the mistake, because the hero for them was the one who wasn't trying to be one. For them, it was as if Shaerah the Grim, just for a moment, was written into the fabric of the world, wrought for us to RP in. And the realization that there was somebody behind the illusion of him blending in just made him stand out that much more. I delight in making my characters ordinary, making them NPC-like, because in doing so, at least while all this other heroic roleplay was going on, my ordinary hero seemed that much more extraordinary and epic for it.
You have been listening to Hearthstone Tavern Roleplay Podcast, highlighting the RP in MMORPG. You can send your questions or comments by contacting us by email